Yeah. Okay. All right, bye. Hey guys, Sean Bougie, surplusfundsriches.net. Appreciate everybody coming out. You guys know the drill. If somebody in here could please let me know. You can see, let me do this, see and hear me okay. Got a little bit different background this evening. I'm visiting with my mother. Chat is private, so you won't be able to see other people's messages. Helps us keep things rolling along, avoid some glitches, and at the same time, whenever I respond to you guys, I will mention your first name. So we're going to have private on all the messages. Let's see what we got here. Cheryl says, hi, guys. Chris says, yes. Sunny says, good evening, Sean. So, Sean, what is the most efficient people search program? Demo. Let's start right into it, I guess. Two announcements real quick. Yeah, we see you. This is Randall. We see you clearly and loudly as well. Can see and hear, says Asha. What's going on, everybody, says Brian. That's great. Guys, there is a file download. A couple things I need to cover, and then I'll get into the questions. There is a file download that you can download that's going to have an overview of the programs and also the pricing for coming up for the next sale, which will be Black Friday weekend. Jesse says, greetings from Kansas City. Please don't use the Q&A section, guys. Just use the comment section whenever possible. I understand, again, that they're all private. You can't see other people's messages, but I will. And Carl says, Yeppers, loud and clear. I will mention your name. And Charles says, good evening to everybody. Good evening, Charles. So we've already got a question. I'm going to start on in it. What is the most efficient people search program? So, Damu, if you can get it, it's extremely hard to get because they're trying to limit it to just attorneys and professional private investigators. But sometimes you can get a workaround on that. My favorite of all time has been TLO XP. They're probably not going to let you get it unless you're an attorney or a private investigator. Or maybe somebody that's running an apartment complex, so you can do background checks. You have to have a use that they like. They don't like surplus funds recovery for some reason. Having said that, IDI data, IDIDATA, IDI data is fantastic. You can see, you can go to them. I think it's ididata.com and sign up. They're very good. They're great at finding people. We also like Microbilt, MICROBILT.com. If you call them, and there will be a replay of this, guys. If you go to microbilt.com and call them, talk to Randy Mosteller, and when you do, mention my name, Sean Bougie, or Greater Good Company, and he'll give you a special deal. It's something we worked out with them to give you guys kind of a break. The great thing with Microbilt, they're not as accurate at finding claimants as IDI is, but there's something about their algorithms where they're fantastic at finding possible relatives and associates. I mean, ridiculously good at it. Those of you guys who've been around a while, you know, we not only try to get a hold of the claimant directly, but also we will go through their possible relatives and associates. And we've had a lot of luck doing that, getting right phone numbers from them. And here's the surprise for you. Whitepages.com, White Pages Premium, $25 a month. Really accurate, especially when you do reverse lookup by address for some reason. You plug the address in, it'll give you the name of the people that are there and the phone numbers. And a lot of times, by the way, in these foreclosures, the people are not living there. There's a family member in there, a different family member, or there's a renter, and they're happy to give you the phone number. So those are the top three, I'd say, other than TLO. It would be IDI, Microbilt. Again, talk to Randy Mosteller if you go to Microbilt, and he'll give you a special deal. Mention Sean Bougie or Greater Good Company. And then, of course, the White Pages Premium has been shockingly good. It's amazing how good they've become. We may have a couple of other recommendations coming up. I know Jeff in particular has been checking in on some of the cheaper ones out there and been happily surprised with some of the results he's getting on them. But it does come down to, you do have to have some kind of a professional system. Again, there's options for free, but the professional systems tend to work really a lot better than the free ones where you have to actually pay for it. And the real key, when we talk about, I'm glad you brought that up, Demu, when we talk about getting a hold of people, right, trying to find people, the key is to make sure that you're not just calling them. First of all, call them. A lot of people bail on that. They think they can just mail or send text messages or direct messages through social media and they're going to get a response. You need to mail. Okay. You can text as well if you want, but mail is great as long as you follow it up with a call, because then you're creating this credibility and they're starting to remember your name when you're leaving messages. And that's what really pays off, is the fact that you're overlapping your communication efforts. David, what are some of the ways your diamond bundle can work with someone that is already in wholesaling real estate? So David, great question. A couple things it has in it that nothing else has. Okay. And by the way, for those of you guys that missed Redemption Wholesale the last time, it's going to be available again for Black Friday on its own, probably for the last time. Diamond has a couple things in it, David, that I like as far as flipping. You've got a lot of flat broke flipper. You have a lot of different flipping programs in there. National deed flip, where you could just get a list of upcoming tax sales, check the debt real quick to see, make sure they're underwater. Turn it into us and let it be our problem. We find them, call them, put the deal together, and we give you 15% of our net when we successfully sell the property. We do it differently, David. The way that we flip property is we buy it as is, where is, sell it as is, where is, to investors quickly for cash. And because we're buying it right before a tax foreclosure, we tend to get it for about 50% of what we're going to be able to sell it to an investor for. So that's, as you can imagine, that's a great hit. And we go after the low hanging. We're not going after $1 million homes. I'm not going after $500,000 homes. I'm going after low hanging fruit. I love the stuff that's falling apart, where an investor is going to come in and they're going to either fix it up, so they want it cheap and we can still sell it to them cheap and double our money, or they want to tear it down and use it as a lot, and we can get it cheap enough that we can actually make that fly and still double our money. So that's a great way to go. It also has the deed flip 30, which is where if you contact the people and they say, hey, they're willing to speak with us, and they are willing to speak with us about selling their property, then we will give you 30% of the net instead of 15. That works extremely well. There's also the rest of the flipping programs in there. There's a file download, guys. Download those files. One of them is an overview of all of the systems. Every one of the systems broken out separately. It's called, I believe, the Insider's Guide, and that'll tell you all the different programs we have for that. One of the good things it has too, David, is it has a Zombie Business Reviver, and that is designed, that's an add-on that's designed to help both surplus funds, and it'll also help you with flipping. And it's a way to get property that's owned by companies that have gone out of business. It's a great little end run. It's that way you can buy the properties when the company's gone out of business. You can reactivate the company, teach you how to do that, buy the company for nothing. And then you can also do the same thing with surplus. You can buy the company from them, reactivate it. Now you're the company and you're entitled to the surplus. It's a great end run on that. And David said, and that is taught. I do about 4 to 5 houses a month and looking to add more. Additionally, do you have metrics of calls, mails to conversions? So David, you're going to find, and I'm not going to go in depth on the conversion rate on that. I'm not ignoring your question. It's going to come down to how close, you know this. It's going to come down to how close they are to losing the house. So typically, if it is still not sold or the taxes have still been not paid off, and we're within about 2 to 3 weeks, that is the prime time we're going to put a deal together. These people think they're going to come up with the money at the last minute, or their family's going to come through for them, or they're going to win the lottery, something like that, right? So what happens is, in the last couple of weeks, they get into reality, and we have to move very quickly. What we do is we have them sign the deed to us. We're not wholesaling. We're actually, they're signing the deed over, quit claiming it to us, as well as signing our contract. And and I tell them, I said, look, I'm going to record the deed, then I'm going to pay off the taxes to stop the tax sale, and then I'm going to send you the money I agreed to. Now, if they're living in it and they need a couple of months, I'll give them that. But instead of giving them 50 grand now, I'm going to give them 5 and the other 45 when they move out. And it's $2,000 less for every day they're late moving out. You have to do that because they weren't afraid of the tax man. They're not afraid of you. You got to be very, very clear about how you want to run that with them. And you're doing them a favor by letting them stay there a month or 2 for free. So that's a really good way to position that. And yes, we teach all of that. Charles, as a beginner, how do we know what counties to start looking for possible files? As you have many people are sending you files, looking for files as you have. So Charles, we give you, as a beginner, you have the ebook, step-by-step, read that twice for comprehension, okay? It has a link that goes to a resources page, has additional video training, a lot more information. That also has a link on it to our active files list. So first of all, you'll be able to see all the files that we're working. Now, we don't give you all the information, obviously, right? But this is a way so that you won't duplicate somebody else's efforts. You can take the names off your list, check our list before you turn them in to make sure we don't already have it. What it also will give you an idea is, hey, what areas are actually popping? What states are doing really well. So that's a great way to look at it. We do not steer you to a state. We won't work Colorado, Oregon, or Washington State. We think they're too difficult. North Carolina is not going to give you a list. The only program that you can use to really work in North Carolina is the Panning for Hidden Surplus Funds. That's in the Diamond Bundle. And Florida is a separate program for us because the statutes are so different. So with the National Surplus and the Premier 16 programs, both of those surplus fund programs, you can work 45 states. Work them all. We also did, if you go to our YouTube channel, Surplus Funds Riches, all one word, I did an updated state list where I kind of go through the good, bad, and the ugly of all the states. And it'll say updated and it'll have a date on there. I think it was in October that I did this. So go to that. Go to our YouTube channel. Again, there'll be a replay of this up on YouTube too. Go to our YouTube channel, Surplus Funds Riches, all one word, and you'll see that. Okay. Are there companies that do title lien checks in bulk for slightly cheaper? Hey, Lewis, I'm glad you said this. First of all, when you're looking at doing a title search, online with one of these companies that does a cheap thing, they're doing title as it stands now. In order to have viable or relevant, I should say, title work, it has to be, what was the title like? In other words, what was the debt and ownership like pre-foreclosure? Most of them won't do that. They'll tell you they do, but they won't. We teach you how to do it. It's not hard to do. It's going to take you 15 minutes to file. Don't spend money doing that, please. Jesse, if the county's disbursement period is a year after the auction, do we work these? Jesse, if you're within the year, I'd say probably a month or two near the end of that period. Yeah, work them. If you're past the year, no. If the county has a year to claim and we're past the year, we're done. David said, sorry, regarding the surplus. William, how do you determine the overage amount on a mortgage foreclosure? So, William, for National Surplus and Premier 16, a lot of states give you lists of the surplus funds, and that's how you get them. Otherwise, you can use the Panning for Hidden Surplus Funds in those states where it's handled by an attorney. And in those states where it's handled by an attorney, the court actually lets the attorney handle the foreclosure and disperse the funds. The only way to work that and the only way to get an accurate way of figuring that out is our Panning for Hidden Surplus Funds. That's in our Diamond Bundle. Very little competition. It's representing right now, I think, 55-60% of our deals. And we just launched in January, which is pretty powerful. Somebody just did a Q&A. Guys, I'm just doing chat, not Q&A. Remember that. Please use the chat. Good question, William. Okay, but there's lists of mortgage overages as well as the tax. Pete, with Redemption Wholesaler, do you think White Pages Premium would be good enough by itself? You know what, Pete? Great question. I think it might. Remember, a lot of these states, Redemption Wholesaler is dealing in those states where they allow a post-sale, after the tax sale, they allow a time period for people to redeem the property beyond the auction. It's like, oops, you're allowed to go, oops, he didn't get the notice, and pay it off, right? Now, some of those states require you to pay back the high bidder. Some of those states require the person just to pay off the taxes and they get it back. That's in the ebook, okay? A lot of times, and I see this a lot in Tennessee in particular, they let the people stay for quite a while in the property when there's an actual redemption, a long redemption period. So it's like they're not pushing hard to kick people out, which kind of surprises me. But to answer your question, all that was to say, yeah, I think White Pages Premium might be a great way to use to go after people with Redemption Wholesaler. It's a great question. I'll look at this real quick. Yeah, and this last one, guys, last time I'm going to go to Q&A. You always use chat, please. Washington State, we just don't recommend you work at. May change in the future. There in the past, there were people that had issues with, let me put this politically correct. There are sometimes people that run states, governors of states, that have political aspirations, and because of that, they are constantly trying to put a feather in their cap. Washington State is a state like that, we believe. Oregon is a state like that. Colorado's just weird. I had a fine from them because my mailing said court-held funds instead of department-held funds, because the department held it, even though you had to go through the court to get it released from the department. That's how wacky they are. That's why we pulled out of Colorado. Hey, Sean, I have the panning system. I was just curious. Why do clients not decide to go after the surplus themselves after you contact them? Would they have to hire their own lawyers. Okay, so juries. Panning, that's probably the best question I've had in a long time. This is why we have an attorney and we have an attorney liaison, a paralegal working for that attorney just on our stuff. So in those states that have, where you have to actually contact the attorney, could that person contact him? Yes. They're probably not going to return the call for months at a time. Seriously. Now, when they get a call from my attorney liaison, from my attorney's office saying, hey, we're working with this person, here's a copy of our power of attorney, we need the money back, they're actually going to talk to us. Second part to it is, there's a couple parts. One is the attorney that handled the foreclosure, they're not obligated to talk to the public quickly. They're going to take their time. They're foreclosure mills and they're foreclosing like crazy. The other one is these people don't want to talk to the foreclosure attorney. Last time they had a conversation or received communication from them, they lost their home, okay? They don't want anything to do with it. So we really don't find that to go around that. Plus, remember, juries, within 10 business days after they sign my agreements, my power of attorney to my attorney, my structured buyout, I'm giving them 10% of the amount being held as good faith money. Okay, now we undershoot what we think that is because sometimes we're a little bit off, or maybe there's a judgment that pops up. But the way my contract reads is if it turns out there's more money that we can get and we get out for them, they make more money. If there's less, they make less money. So, my structured buyout covers that. And that was a really good question. But the bottom line is that attorney isn't going to talk to them, first of all. At least they're not going to talk to them anytime soon. They're going to get around to them when they can. When they hear from an attorney, they talk to them. Secondly, the claimant doesn't want to talk to them. All right, Jesse, I called the excess funds listed office to verify that the money's confirmed today, and they wouldn't confirm it. How do I confirm this? Jesse, what you need to find out if you're working with us already, a lot of people know if you've been working with us, and you're working national surplus or Premier 16, we need to know that you have a list that is either updated on an ongoing basis or recent. I forget what Jeff put on there, 2-3 months, something like that. Jeff can hop in here. He's a mediator. But we've got to know that. They're usually not going to confirm the funds with you. They're not. What we need to know is the list updated? Has it been updated? Or in addition to that, if it hasn't been updated or it's not dated, we need to know. We need to have some kind of clarification on how often that's updated. Now, one of the little things that can help, obviously, is if you're looking at a list and you don't know if it's updated and it has a foreclosure from a week ago on it, and then it has the other items on it, it was updated within that week, right? I would still call the court and double check that if there's no date on the top of it, date of publication on the top of it, but that's a way to figure that out. Don't be afraid to call the courts, guys, for questions. By the way, something happened interesting recently where somebody said, well, I called the court just to double check and there wasn't any other debt. No, they're not going to do title work for you guys. What they thought you asked was there additional debt against the property that is still against the property? They didn't know you were asking about surplus. So they said no, because they figured that the foreclosure kicked all the debt out. Well, it did against the property, not against the surplus. So we had somebody actually say, I didn't check debt because, they said there wasn't any debt. They're not going to do title work for you. They're not. Chris, so if you have Premier 16, is it not possible to work, say, for instance, Texas, correct? You can work Texas tax, Chris. You're not going to be able to work Texas mortgage because you're not going to be able to get a list. Premier 16 and national surplus, we need to see the money on a list. Panning for hidden surplus funds, we don't, because we teach you how to make your own list. We teach you all the ins and outs on how you can, the only ways that you can be accurate as to what the surplus is from a mortgage foreclosure in 18-20 states where the attorney's handling both the foreclosure and disbursement of funds. So yeah, Premier 16, you can work Texas tax. You can't work Texas mortgage. You're not going to be able to get a list. Pete, as you know, I'm working panning. I do, Pete. Can we use the list we create for hybrid? So hybrid is your call, Pete. You can do that on your own if you'd like, right? We don't partner up with the hybrid program. So having said that, absolutely do your thing. For those of you guys who don't know, hybrid is a way that, like, let's say the people, you can't get a hold of them, or they've died, or they don't want to talk to you, or they're even trying to get it out on their own. and you take you go, okay, I'm going to take a quick look and see if they went into bank. They had a surplus funds created, right? From a mortgage or tax, you know it, it's on the list. You've researched the debt, or maybe even there's too much debt. There's 200,000 in debt, and there's only $100,000 in surplus. Well, you can go, okay, I'm going to go on to, it's the bankruptcy court search system. It's, oh Lord, it's a .gov system, pacer.gov. You can go on there, plug their name in the area of the state, they're regional bankruptcy courts, and it'll tell you if they went into bankruptcy within 2 years before or after the foreclosure. If they did, bankruptcies are typically not mentioned at the county level. County doesn't know that they went into bankruptcy or not, typically, not some states. But as a result, if you know about that, you can contact the bankruptcy court and they'll give you a 25% referral just for telling them where the money is. You don't even have to tell, you just say, here's where it is, here's who you got to contact to get it out, and they'll give you a 25% referral just for telling them where the money is. No kidding. It's not their money. And there's no finder limit or anything like that at the federal level. And this is all bankruptcy courts. If they had to have created a surplus, you have to know it's there, and the individual had to go into bankruptcy, typically anywhere from 2 years prior to the foreclosure to 2 years after. But yeah, to answer your question. Junior, how much workload would you recommend someone coming in new to the business? It's up to you, Junior. That's one of the questions I really can't answer for you. I would say most people start this part-time and it's a side hustle, and there is nothing wrong with that. I have a lot of people that have been side hustling with me, partnering with me on side hustles for years and years. And once you get some money in your pocket, if you decide, hey, I'm going to change it up, maybe do a little more, or maybe I'm going to do a few deals on my own, go for it. The beauty is you've got the option of that, either way you want to do it. Robert, regarding surplus funds, how long is the turnaround from submission to payment? Okay, this is something I need to address. So in most states, well, let's even back off of that. I'm going to give you guys worst case. In about half the states, from time you submit it to us and get paid, it's 3 to 4 months. There are some states that are taking a little longer. However, let me tell you something. When they're taking a little longer, other people are starting to avoid them, so the competition is less. Those states include, Ohio is actually pretty quick. Texas, for the mortgage using our panning, it's taken a little bit for those guys to actually send the check out. It's still worth it. My God, that's probably a fifth of our deals on the panning system. South Carolina can be a little bit delayed, Georgia as well. North Carolina has been speeding up a little bit, but not as much as I'd like. That's closer to the 3 to 4 month period in North Carolina. But there's some that are taking longer. Arizona, there's a couple of states that actually make it so that you have to wait till the redemption period is up, a couple of them. I believe Arizona is one of those. So it's better to almost work that stuff knowing, okay, 4 months has passed, 6 months has passed, so it's better to make the claim at this point. Comes down to the state, and if you guys look up the statute, it's really easy. You can put in excess funds or surplus funds, state statutes, whatever it is, Louisiana, Ohio, Nevada, Washington, West Virginia, whatever, and all the statutes will pop up from that state. Google is your friend, guys, and then you can see what's going on and if there's any kind of a delay. There are some states that have extremely fast redemption periods, around not redemption, but they have really quick periods where everything kind of falls off really, really quickly. You can no longer make a claim. I believe Connecticut is one of those. It's either Connecticut or Delaware. Jeff I got your text here. Jeff can tell you one or the other there, but there are some states that have a very limited claim time. Now, keep in mind, there was a Supreme Court ruling that struck down a couple of states, Wisconsin, Michigan, a couple of states were keeping tax overages and saying, oh, it's for the good of the betterment of the local area. We're going to use this for this, that, and the other, parks and all that. And they got struck down. You don't get to, even if you have the best intentions, you don't get to keep somebody else's money. So they got struck down. However, like we have a couple of deals in Wisconsin right now. We've got an attorney sitting there waiting. We're waiting on them to figure out how they're going to pay it up. They know they lost the legal battle, but it's going to take a little while before they have the process down. There's something to that. I think that's the last one. I know that Jeff has cut it off because typically by 8:25, 8:30, we know where we're at. I hope that helped, guys. Another thing you can do, listen carefully. So first of all, if you haven't already, there's a file download that you can download. Click that and download it. Do it quickly. I'm going to cut it down or cut it off here for pretty quick. The other thing is there's going to be a replay of this on YouTube. You'll be able to see it on there. Our YouTube channel is Surplus Funds Riches, all one word. And another thing you can do, guys, is if you still have questions, please go to the website first. There's links in that download, surplusfundsriches.net. Go there, click on products. There's downloads halfway down the page for overviews of the programs and the pricing coming up for Black Friday. And if you'll go there, that's going to give you a lot of information. But if you still have questions after reading through the Insider's Guide, don't call me and go, hey, give me an overview of what you do. No, please read the overview first. You can call me 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Time, Monday through Friday at 704-791-9398. Thanks, guys. Have a great night.